For cooking, you can use various methods or techniques for preparing varied food dishes. For example, steak and hamburgers are best if grilled, French fries are fried, muffins, cookies are baked, and soup is boiled. So one needs to have a basic idea of which cooking method is right for which kind of food item. One cannot prepare cookies by boiling or frying. Neither can you grill French fries. So in this video, we are going to discuss different methods or techniques of cooking. Cooking methods. The first category is moist heat methods and the second one is dry heat methods. Now let's discuss them in detail. Moist heat methods. In this method, a liquid is used as a medium to conduct heat. Generally, water is used, but one can also use water-based liquids such as stock, sauces, milk, or steam. These methods are specifically appropriate for preparing pasta, rice, pulses, and vegetables. The different types of moist heat methods are boiling, simmering, poaching, steaming, stewing, and braising. Let's talk about the first one, that is boiling. Boiling means cooking the food in boiling water or water-based liquid such as milk or stock. As many a time the liquid used is water-based and the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius, so it is advisable to keep the temperature at 100 degrees Celsius. Boiling is most relevant to the vegetables. Please note, in boiling, the food is completely immersed in the liquid throughout the entire span of cooking time. In boiling, one can see several bubbles on the surface of the cooking utensil. Generally, vegetable soups are prepared this way. Now, very much similar to boiling method, we have simmering and poaching. Simmering. If we cook the food in liquid just below the boiling point, that is roughly around 85 to 95 degrees Celsius, then it is called simmering. Temperature is kept just below the boiling point, but it is never allowed to boil. High protein food like meat or poultry fare much better when simmered. Poaching. In poaching, the temperature is kept roughly between 70 to 85 degrees Celsius. It takes experience and practice to keep the temperature constant, so that neither it simmer nor start boiling. For example, eggs may be poached. Next we have steaming. Steaming, as the name suggests, it is cooking by steam under varying degree of pressure. For instance, low pressure steaming and high pressure steaming. Low pressure steaming. Here, steam is used under normal conditions without any extra pressure, means at atmospheric pressure. The temperature will range from 100 to 105 degrees Celsius, which is just above the boiling point. Such a steaming could be two types, direct steaming and indirect steaming. Direct steaming. Here, the food is in direct contact with the steam heat. Usually, we prepare rice cake, idli, dumpling, momos by this direct steam. For example, this is a steamer. In the below portion, we have boiling water, and in the upper compartment, we place our momos in direct contact with steam. Indirect steaming. Here, the food is placed in a closed pan which is surrounded by plenty of steam from the fast boiling water, and the food is protected from direct contact with steam to avoid water getting into the food. Take the same example we took in case of momos. If we close the holes of the upper compartment and close the upper lid tightly or with grease paper or aluminium foil, Then it will not allow the steam get in touch with the food that is placed in upper compartment. A chocolate pudding is usually prepared this way. Next we have high pressure steaming. Here, equipment that doesn't allow the steam to escape is used. As the steam is not allowed to escape by the equipment, the temperature inside the equipment increases, results in lower cooking time as we see in the pressure cooker. We generally cook lentils and legumes this way. Now there is one more popular and modern method of steaming, that is sous vide. It is a French term that means under vacuum. In this method, food is vacuum sealed or packed in a plastic pouch or glass jar. Later, that food is sealed packed is cooked in a water bath. Water is hot but never boils. Temperature is usually kept 55 to 60 degrees Celsius for red meat and 66 to 71 for poultry and higher for vegetables. As food is cooked at a lower temperature, it is slow process of cooking which may take from 1 hour to 7 hours to cook food. In some cases, it may even take up to 72 hours or more, depending on the type of food and its thickness. As food was vacuum sealed, steam is trapped inside the plastic pouch or glass jar, which evenly cook the food and retain its moisture and nutrition. One more traditional method similar to sous vide is en papillote, which is also a French term that means enveloped in paper. In this method, food is put into a folded pouch or parcel and then baked. A pouch or parcel is usually made from parchment paper which can withstand normal baking temperature. But other materials could be used such as aluminum foil, paper bag, and in some Asian region banana leaves are used. This method is more popular for cooking fish. After cooking, this parcel may be opened directly before the guest on their table. Note: in both methods, herbs, seasoning, spices are added before packing. Now I hope the concept of steaming is clear to you. Now let's move to our next method, that is stewing. Stewing, it is a slow and long method of cooking in which food is cut into pieces and cooked in a minimum amount of liquid. Here the food is served with liquid. Such a food which is served along with the liquid is called stew. For example, chicken stew. Next we have braising. Braising. Another method similar to stewing is braising. It is also a long, gentle and slow cooking process. In this method, food is first sautéed or seared in a very small amount of fat or oil to brown its surface and enhance its flavor. Sauté is a type of frying that we will learn during dry heat methods. After sautéing, a certain amount of liquid is added, usually a stock, then finished in an enclosed container, usually in an oven. And like stewing, served with the liquid which is reduced to very little. Enclosed container like covered pan, casserole or coquette can be used. Also note one thing, this method uses both dry heat as food is first sautéed in fat or oil and moist heat as later cooking is finished in liquid. Example is on your screen. Now, what is the difference between braising and stewing? The key difference is the cuts of the meat. In braising, we use cheaper and larger cut of meat, while in stewing, smaller and uniform cuts are used. In stewing, meat cuts are totally immersed in liquid and finished on the stove top. In braising, small quantity of liquid is used which is reduced further and braising is usually finished in the oven. Please note, in both cases a tight fitted lid should be used during cooking to retain the juices and flavors. Also, some people consider braising as pot roasting, which we will differentiate in the later part of this video. Now we have covered our moist heat methods. Let's move to the second category, that is dry heat methods. In dry heat methods, heat is transferred through hot air, fat or oil. The methods are suitable for food that are rich in proteins like meat, fish, seafood, as well as where crust or brown outer appearance is desired. The dry heat methods are further categorized into two groups. First, where we use fat or oil, and second, where hot air is the medium of cooking. First, let's take into account the method using dry heat or hot air. In this method, hot air, hot metal rod or plate or radiation is used to cook the food. For instance, baking, grilling and roasting. Baking. In this method, food is prepared by dry heat, typically in an oven. Temperature normally varies between 120 to 250 degrees Celsius. Here, no additional fat is required to cook food. Some examples of baked items are cake, pastries, pieces of bread, muffins, etc. Next we have grilling. Grilling is cooking by radiant heat or direct heat, which could be from above, below or from the side. Best suited for pork chops, seafood, hamburgers, hot dogs and other thin cuts, since the intensity of fire is high. The food which is to be cooked is put on a grill or grill pan. Based on the direction of heat, it may be of three types: overheat, underheat and between heat. Overheat. When the source of the heat is below the food, that is, food is over the heat, then it is called overheat grilling. As you can see in this picture, it is an example of overheat grilling. The grill bars which are under the food are preheated and brushed with fat or oil to avoid sticking food on the grill bars. Underheat. Now, if the food is below the heat source, then it is called underheat grilling. In the United States, such underheat grilling where the food is grilled below the heat source is called broiling, and the pan which is used for broiling is called broiler pan. An example of overheat grilling or broiling is salamander. Salamander is an equipment which is used for broiling. Between heat. In this, the heat source is on both sides and the food is placed in between, the way bread is grilled in a bread toaster. Further, there is also a similar term to grilling, barbecue. Sometimes the terms are used interchangeably. The very difference is that grilling is cooking food hot and fast, near about 260 to 290 degrees Celsius, whereas barbecuing is cooking at low heat and quite a slow process, usually at 110 degrees Celsius or lower. Barbecuing is done with indirect heat as compared to direct heat in grilling. Charcoal, woods are commonly used heat source for barbecue. So, grilling is cooking fast over high heat, while barbecue entitles a slow cooking process with low heat and over indirect heat. Please note here, fat may not be added to the food while cooking. Next we have roasting. Roasting refers to cooking food with radiation from a heat source such as open fire or spit. Additionally, now we can also opt for oven roasting, which is a combination of convection and radiation. For more details on heat transfer, watch the video on different methods of heat transfer. Next we have spit roasting. In this method, the food is cooked over a spit or open fire, in the direct contact with the flame of a clear bright fire. During roasting, the food is slowly rotated over the heat and cooking takes place with radiant heat and convection of air, all depending upon the position of food over the fire. Usually, large meat joints are cooked by this method. The more modern version of spit roasting is rotisserie. In this, the meat is skewered onto a metal rod that slowly rotates automatically in front of the heat that is produced either by electric filament or by gas burners. Next, we have pot roasting, which is more suitable for large joints or cuts, especially of beef. The meat is first sautéed or seared in a little butter or oil till it gets golden brown color, then placed on a bed of root vegetables covered in a deep pot without any or with barely any liquid. The pot is tightly covered and the meat is cooked gently. Note: pot roasting may be done in a pot or pressure cooker or in a bread kettle and may be finished in an oven. Now, one of the similar terms related to pot roasting is poling. In poling, meat is placed inside a closed container in melted butter. No liquid is added. As food is cooked in an enclosed container, moisture will be retained and the food gets cooked in its own juice. In poling, two terms are widely used: in casserole and en cocotte. In casserole is where food is cooked only in butter without vegetables. Once finished, cooking meat is withdrawn and served with brown stock in an earthenware utensil. In en cocotte, procedure remains the same except the meat is garnished with vegetables cooked separately in butter, such as small onions, mushrooms, etc. Now, what's the difference between pot roasting and poling? There are two major differences between pot roasting and poling. In poling, meat is not sautéed before cooking as in the case of pot roasting. In poling, butter is used as the main liquid to cook meat. Now, many of the professionals also get confused in three terms, that is, pot roasting, stewing, and braising. In stewing, meat or food is completely immersed in water, while in braising, some amount of liquid is required, and in pot roasting, very small quantity of liquid may or may not be required. Full roast are pot roasted, or you can say use a whole piece of meat. Steaks and similar cuts are braised. Cubes and dices are stewed. But in my opinion, braising and pot roasting can be used interchangeably. One more method left in roasting is tandoor. In this method, a clay oven called tandoor is used. The source of heat is at the bottom of the tandoor, but the heat gets distributed evenly due to the clay. Additionally, it provides a smoky flavor to the dish. Well, this was all about roasting and different methods of roasting. Now let's move to the second category of dry heat methods using fat or oil. Here, fat and oil serves as the medium of cooking and is known as frying. Frying is an art of cooking where the food is either partially or fully submerged in fat or oil until the food gets golden brown in color along with crispness and moist interior. The varied category of frying are sautéing, pan frying, shallow frying, deep frying, and stir frying. To have a fine understanding of these methods, please tap on the I button above and a link is also provided in the description below. There I describe the complete frying and frying techniques in detail. Now, some people also consider radiation cooking as a modern method of cooking. In radiation cooking, food is cooked via the energy waves emitted by the other object in terms of electromagnetic radiation. In cooking, we usually follow two types of electromagnetic forms: infrared radiation and microwave. In the market, you will find many infrared ovens which works as multi-purpose oven. You can cook a variety of dishes with different cooking methods like baking, grilling, roasting, etc. While microwave ovens are very popular for defrosting and reheating pre-cooked food, you may also find the ovens which works on both types of electromagnetic radiation, that is infrared and microwave. Now do note one thing. In my opinion, this radiation works as a heat source. I do not consider these as methods of cooking. To gain a full understanding of the concept, go and check my video on heat transfer methods. A link is in the description. Well guys, that was all about cooking methods. I tried my best to cover all the methods available and also compare similar cooking techniques. If you know any other cooking methods or techniques, comment down below. And guys, it took a lot of research and efforts to animate these videos, so do hit the like button. Stay tuned on Hospitality Broadcast.